Now, we're doing a series on the 12 powers, and our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, had this idea of 12 powers that each person has. And I remember, Evelyn, do you remember John Anderson? He was a teacher at Unity Village. One of the first classes I ever took at Unity Village, probably about 20 years ago, was on the 12 powers from John Anderson, who is this gentle giant of a man. He was a very big guy, but he was very soft-spoken and very compassionate. And he was the first person that said to me the phrase, "your 12 powers." Because up until that point, I still had it in my mind that they were out there somewhere and I had to go get them. And he helped me to realize and to understand that those powers, I already have them. They're within me to develop, to express, to learn how to use. And so this morning, I want to talk about the power of power. So each power within us is located, the Fillmores taught, in a certain part of the body. The power of power is located in the throat, and the color is purple, and the idea is self-mastery. Mastery over our thoughts and our feelings. Mastery over our actions. And also an awareness of the presence of the divine. So I also think about this power is the power of the Word. The power of the Word. And how powerful that our words can be. I spent weekend with someone that I consider to be a spiritual master, Gangaji. Y'all have heard me talk about her a lot, and I could do a whole series on just what I learned in that weekend. But one of the things that really landed with me that I heard her say was, you know, there's been suffering since there's been people. There have been many people on our planet that we've considered spiritual masters. Buddha, Jesus, Mohammed, beings I sung about in the song, but none of them have been able to eliminate suffering. Or if they could, they didn't care to do it because we still have it, right? So it must be something that we're generating. Yes, right? Jesus said, I'm not sure where in the New Testament, but he's quoted as saying, the poor will always be with you. The Buddha was Siddhartha. He was a prince. He was married with children and lived in a palace, thank you, had a lot of wealth, and he was in a bubble, and one day he went outside of the palace and he saw all the suffering in the world, the poverty, and he gave it all up, all of his earthly possessions, to go sit under a tree and meditate on the suffering of the world. And what, you know, the Buddhists teach is that we create our own suffering with what we think about, what we talk about, what we say. You know, I want to share about the power of the Word, the power of our I am, but I'm also combining it with what I did on my summer vacation, which is kind of what I do every year. So after I sat with Gangaji in Oregon for a weekend, I met my husband Eric up in Vancouver, British Columbia. Can we have the map, please? Because I want to give you an idea of where I was. So there's the map of Vancouver Island. We flew into Vancouver, the city. I met Eric there. We spent some time up north of there in a place called Paradise Valley. And then we took a ferry from Vancouver to the island, spent a week there, and then I was in Courtenay, which is kind of in the middle on the east side, and then we drove up to another city and took a ferry over to Quadra Island. So it was kind of all over this area for a while. And when we stayed one night up in Squamish, up north of Vancouver, John, do you have those pictures? So you're going to get a little slideshow. Please feel free to doze off during this part if you'd like. That's fine. So we were on land of the Squamish First Nations tribe near there. My friend's daughter and son live out here in the middle of nowhere. Keep going, John. We stayed in a little tiny house overnight. John, next one, please. And there's the meadow at the end of a dirt road in the middle of nowhere. It was so quiet. I woke up in the morning, the window was open, it was 70 degrees outside. I heard the birds singing. I was like, whew, no wonder they call it Paradise Valley. We were right there by a river. There's the river. This is First Nations territory. Where we were, there's no police, there's no EMTs, there's no fire department. You're kind of on your own, and they like it that way out there. So, yeah. So then, the next day, we took a ferry. We drove back to Vancouver, the city, and we took a ferry from the city of Vancouver to Vancouver Island. That's the ferry. Right there. Now, when I heard of a ferry the first time, I thought, oh, we're going to drive on this little platform of a thing and just kind of 5 minutes will be across the river. Not so. It was like 5 stories high. It was like being on a cruise ship. They had a restaurant and a gift shop and all this stuff, and it took an hour to go from the city of Vancouver to Vancouver Island. But then, actually, that's the little ferry. Let's go back to that first slide. So we stayed a few days on the island, and then we drove up to Campbell River and took the little ferry to Quadra Island. So that's the little ferry that we got on. Keep going, John. Yeah, so here we are pulling on to Quadra Island, and my friend Vicky, y'all have heard me talk about Reverend Vicky. She's my prayer partner. We pray every 2 weeks over the phone, so we're with her and her husband Joseph, right? So we're going to Quadra Island, and she showed us around the island, and we ended up on a spit. Do y'all know what a spit is? It's like a little piece of land that comes off of an island. So we're going to go walking out on the spit. So there's the trail. We sat on that bench for a while. So that's the widest point between the ocean and like the inlet is, the narrowest point. You keep going and you're going through a little bit of woods. There's me being goofy. Yeah, okay, so just stop there for a minute. So we're on the spit. We sat on the bench for a while. We're looking, just really enjoying the beauty and the quiet. And this lady comes up and starts talking to us. And she said, I haven't been out of the house in 4 or 5 months. So I've had shingles. And so she proceeded to tell us how awful it was. And so, being the good Unity Truth students that we are, we kept trying to redirect her. You look great. Yeah, but I identified 5 different kinds of pain that I experienced during shingles. Would you like to hear about it? Well, it's a really nice day. Yes, it is, and I'm so glad to be out, but I haven't had anybody to talk to about since my husband, and he kind of wandered off at that point. And she was determined to keep talking about the shingles. Y'all better make sure you get your vaccine because you really don't want to have this. Did I mention I identified 5 different kinds of pain? Can I tell you about it? And we just kept trying to get her back around to, you look great. I'm so happy that you're out today. Isn't it a beautiful day? And she was stuck on it. So she kind of wandered off with her. I guess I'll go catch up with my husband, you know. So we're like, whew, okay, well, we kept going through the woods there, and we sat down in the woods, and we're looking at another ferry going by, and when we got to the end of the spit where you kind of circle back around, there she was again. And she said, did y'all see those debates last night? And we all said, no! At the same time, and just kept walking. Yeah, and I said a little prayer for her. Now, so I don't want to give the impression that she's bad or doing it wrong, or that we're any better than she is, that we're like spiritually superior to her. Because another thing that I experienced being with Gongaji is that every person that spoke during the retreat, I could identify with. Whether they were talking about a joy in their life or something that was causing them suffering and pain. I was like, yeah, I get that. I've been there. I've experienced what you're talking about. And it really let me know that we're all having the same experience, that we are totally all one. And this lady is reflecting back to me, myself. She's teaching me how I don't want to be, or how I am sometimes. I was with somebody this week and I was complaining, and I had to apologize to them. Sorry about that. Because I was running down somebody in my family, okay? They weren't doing it right. I started complaining about them. But then I caught myself, and I was like, there I go. I don't want to be like this. I'm using the power of my word to declare something that I don't want to experience in my life, because we get a little fun out of complaining, right? There's a payoff, or we wouldn't do it, you know? It's like a lot of times we just want attention. Want someone to pay attention to us, right? Well, there's other ways that I can get attention. So she was really showing me how I am sometimes, and reminding me that I always have the opportunity to change. See, this is this power, this spiritual mastery that we have, that we develop, this power that we can develop of shifting away from what we don't want to experience, what we don't want to think about. We can always turn back to that I am presence that we truly are. Back in the Torah, the Hebrew scriptures, the story of Moses, most of us have heard that Moses went up on the mountain and talked to a burning bush in this story, right? And the bush said, I want you to go and share these ideas with people. And Moses said, well, on what authority am I being sent? Who am I going to say sent me? And the bush said, tell them I am sending you. I am that I am. The Yod, He, Vav, He, the unpronounceable name of God, where we get the word Jehovah from. Tell them I am sending you. And what we learn and teach in unity and practice the awareness of is that we are that I am presence. The I am that's talked about in the Torah is the Christ that is talked about in the New Testament, in the Christian scriptures, yes? And that's what we are. And we can always focus our attention, our awareness on what we are, instead of chasing the thoughts that don't feel good to us, that don't support the experience that we want to have in the world, because everybody wants to experience joy and peace and love and happiness. But in the moment that I am following the thought, that I'm getting lost in the thought of, oh, well, I have this pain over here, or somebody's not acting the way I want them to. Oh, well, what if I can't pay my light bill? if I'm following those thoughts in this moment, I'm suffering in this moment regardless of the outer situations. So if I'm going to follow thought, why not follow a thought that is more in alignment with what I want to experience? And then I let my voice, my creative power support that. Because remember, also in the Torah, in Genesis, it says that God spoke the universe into existence. And each of us is made in the image and likeness of God. So we are speaking our universe into existence in every moment by the words that we're choosing to speak. And they're based on the thoughts that we're holding in our head. I'm going to teach a workshop on this on August the 4th. Sunday, August 4th, after the Sunday service at 1:30, based on Emma Curtis Hopkins' teaching, her formula, 4 steps of manifestation. I think it, I speak it, I write it, and I live it. So we're going to learn in this workshop, we're going to come away with an affirmation, me included, that we can use to manifest the divine idea that wants to be expressed as us. So it's for a love offering. Everybody is welcome to come. I hope you'll think about joining me. Now, at the end of the week on my trip, we were supposed to fly out of Vancouver into Atlanta on Saturday morning at 5:30 in the morning. We did not want to get up at 5:30, at 2:30 in the morning to be at the airport at 5:30 in the morning. And so we found out on the day before that we were supposed to leave that the airline that we were going to fly on, WestJet, out of Canada, was going on strike on Friday evening. Wow, am I a powerful, creative, spiritual being? Oh my God. So now there would be a time where I would have had a fit. What are we going to do? We've had blah, 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 right? So it's just like, all right, well, we're with our friends. We're in Vancouver, British Columbia. Like, we could just go out in the park again or something, go down to the river, whatever, They told us, y'all can stay as long as you want. We're having a great time. Don't worry about it, I got a little flustered one day when I was on my phone trying to rebook my flight, and everybody's trying to tell me what to do at the same time. I got a little upset about that. But overall, I was very calm, and it was like, okay, divine order is established. This is no big deal. So what? I didn't want to get up tomorrow at 3:30 anyway. So when I rebooked my flight, the first leg of the trip, we ended up on a seaplane. I know, right? I've never been on a seaplane before in my life, and we didn't have to be there until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we got up, we went down to the park, we had lunch, we wandered over here and sat on the edge of the water for a little while, and then this guy drove up in a seaplane and said, come on, get in. Go ahead, John. And there I am about to get in. Notice how tightly I'm gripping the seat in front of me. And we're taking off, and I'm looking out the window. I am totally getting a bird's eye view of all the places that we had just visited. I am flying over the whole area. I can see the glaciers and Mount Rainier and the city of Vancouver and the area of the island. Yeah, that we flew right over. There's mountains that come up out of the water there. They look like islands. Keep going. So there I am. I'm flying the plane. And we're about to land, and there we are. And we had the whole afternoon to spend downtown Vancouver. We wandered around, went to a cute little cafe, and had something to eat, and then we rode the Sky Train. That was fun to the airport, and we hung out there for a while, and we got home the next day, and it was no big deal. I could have made it a big deal. I could have thrown a fit. I could have complained. I could have carried on about 5 different kinds of pain I was experiencing, but I chose not to. The more that we stay grounded in our I am presence and not follow the thoughts that we don't want to experience, the more things just seem to line up. Like, what a treat to get to be on a seaplane. Like, we were never over 2,000 feet above the water. I could see everywhere, everything. It was a beautiful experience. So I had a beautiful experience yesterday. I get my hair cut with Kim Swan. We were having a conversation, and she shared a prayer poem with me that she wrote that I thought would be very appropriate for today. So please give a hand to Kim Swan.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I was cutting his hair yesterday, and we were just having talks of synchronicities, and I was sharing with him. I'm very grateful. I have moved, some of you know, to the beach this year, and the backyard is a creek. And I get to see the sunset from there. And I was walking down to my studio. I don't remember exactly what I was thinking about or doing at that moment, but I was walking downstairs. You have to go outside to get to the studio. And it stopped me in my tracks, this beautiful sunset. And lately, in general, I've been saying to myself, just slow down to speed up. And it just kind of hit me just now listening to Dale, which thank you for that beautiful message. Just kind of to relax, to align. That kind of hit me just now too. So this is the sunset here, and I'm just going to read you this poem. It just kind of just spilled out of me, which is always a good feeling. I always paint, and that kind of spills out of me, but words don't always. I think the last time it did was when I took a prosperity class with Dale. So here we go. I see God in the sunset. The feeling stops me, slows me down to help me breathe. I hear God in the whispering wind and rumbling through the wise old trees. God sings to me with the cicadas, and I listen peacefully. I look up to the heavens, and I know it's all right inside of me. Thank you, God, for this day, for this breath of life I seek. And now I speak. I am given a new day, a new hour. I am so honored to receive and be. Thank you for the friendships made today. The connections hold a bond. So sacred, so creative, this life in which I stand. I am the observer, the love, strength, power, and wisdom that all you are, God. Thank you, God. I am. I see you. Thank you for this simple time, so gentle and so grand. I love you all, and may this love be felt on all the land.
Amen.